Hi and good evening, and welcome to tonight's webinar. Where it's the fourth week. It's the fourth week, I guess, when you think about how this whole thing eventuated and where we're at, and it's the middle of April. It feels like a long further into the year than the middle of April. However, power to you and every one of you, and the discipline and the work that you're doing to maintain, again, in this new environment, this new way of living and working and cohabitating. Many of you would be having students and your children, I guess, doing their schooling from home, and you're doing your work from home, and you're doing your best to, within the craziness of what's going on here, try and keep yourself sane and focused on the things that you can control. So tonight's sharing, and I think it's very timely. This is about, I personally am feeling a little bit of that cabin fever, that little bit of, I need to exert some energy and exert some focus in other areas other than just work, home, work. Although I'm in the same home, it's sort of, it's starting to get to me. But I thought bringing on one of Australia's best, when you think about who we have as a guest here tonight, and the work that he has done over almost 2 decades, and some formidable names that he has worked with at elite sporting level and elite business owner level, in terms of him being the personal trainer to many, and his work that he's done, I guess, in developing and delivering and training thousands of clients over his time, and more importantly, he has over 25,000 of hours of professional delivery in his space. And I speak about Craig Abbott, a formidable, I guess, authority in the space of personal training and high intensity workout programs, which really just need you to be committed to go from point A to point B at your own level, at your own pace, and the work that he has done for hundreds and thousands of people over the years has been phenomenal. And I'll let him, if he feels comfortable in sharing some of the names that he has worked with at an AFL, VFL, Olympic level. He's one of 20 coaches in Australia that have a level 3 in strength and conditioning, as far as a qualification is concerned. And he's just a phenomenal human being, and he's impacted thousands of lives in such a positive way as it relates to being active and being active in normal times. So I thought we would get him on tonight. I think it's timely. We've done enough around the business stuff and the mindset stuff. Now it's about the physical stuff. So bringing Craig on tonight and helping him share from his position of expertise and authority how to stay active, how do I guess elevate, I guess, a little bit of our activity and create a bit of variety as it relates to activity, which ensures that our bodies and our mind are in a great place as it relates to training from home, physical exercise from home, but not only limited to. Also, the food and the nutritional side and the structural side to all that, for which many of us, I know myself, I'm at home, my pantry's full of all that delicious, not so good food that I have so much more access to right now, but I'm doing my best to stay very clear and focused on drinking water and eating my apples and doing my lunch in a structured sort of way. So Craig will be sharing a fair bit of that. Please, as you know, we've got several polls. We've got several polls that will be shared and get you to be interactive. We also encourage every one of you to get involved in asking a question or 2 or 5. I'll do my best throughout this sharing this evening to ensure that Craig receives the questions from you, and therefore, he can do his best to answer. And he's a very learnt and experienced, and he is an authority when it comes to activities and exercise and programs and nutrition, and ultimately that space is his space of expertise, and I'm so glad he's committing to sharing an hour with us this evening. So without a further ado, I'll pass over to Craig Abbott, and Craig Abbott will share again what his views and thoughts are in terms of staying active in isolation. So over to you, Craig.
Hey, going, Stefan. Thanks for the big introduction. I'm not sure if I can live up to all that you've said in that introduction.
Just stay natural, man. You're doing well.
Now, beautiful. Well, yeah, thanks for having me on. And it's really good to be able to present to the group tonight and to just explain how to really, stay active whilst in isolation at home, but not just stay active, but how to actually improve. Because I think there's a big difference between general exercise and activity and actually training. I mean, exercise is good and being active is very good and it's very important for our health, but the results will be very short-lived unless you actually have a goal or something that you're exercising for, apart from just mobility and getting outdoors and getting some fresh air. So I think it would be good to really, for me to get across to all of you, just how to structure your week so you can not only be active, but also go forward and get results, because the temptation to sit down too much and not move enough and perhaps even eat too much, whilst we don't have the same kind of structure in place, is going to be quite high. And it is kind of relying on all of us having the self-motivation and self-discipline to get up off the couch and go and move. Whereas perhaps before, you'd have a class that you're committed to, or you had some friends that you were meeting at the gym, and there was a much more compelling reason for you to leave and go and exercise. So yes, Stefan, I think tonight's about just really trying to encourage people to get active, but actually start training in a regular, structured kind of format.
No, that's fantastic. And again, we're, as you know, our community, no different to you. You're typically running a business. You're committed to a structured, I guess, approach to starting your day and finishing your day. For many of your clients as well, which I'm aware of some and a handful of them, and no different to me. Training and looking after the physical, no doubt looking after the mental, is a big part of, I guess, my ability to be at my top of my game and be in a way where I'm functioning as it relates to my professional space, but also on my personal space at the best level that I can be. But I guess this isolation or this new way of living in the last period, and it seems like it's going to go for a little longer, has definitely created some challenges, Craig, as to what do we do in maintaining structure. So on the business side of things, we're definitely, the message we're passing for our clients is stick to your structures. Make sure you're getting up at the same time. Make sure you're having that shower and shave. Make sure well, for me, I jump into my car and then jump out of it and walk downstairs into the basement where my office is these days. It's just my way of just really being switched on to be committed to my 10, 12-hour days right now and doing it at the peak of my level and not having anything sort of waver. So for you and what you know as it relates to structure and staying active, I mean, you know how important exercising and activities for me, and I'm a business owner. And we know that's the same for every other business owner that is committed to that structure as well. What are your, I want you to, again, just expand on the importance of structure and maintaining an isolation, I guess, discipline, and doing it within your own four walls at home, feeling I can't go to the gym anymore. What can I do right now? What do you recommend? What do you suggest? What is the learning that you can share with us here tonight, mate?
Well, like you said, maintaining your structure is important, but it comes down to one word, and that is routine. Routine of incorporating healthy habits throughout the course of the day and to actually have your day mapped out. For me personally, I would strongly encourage that everyone at home in isolation, you do something every single day. So get into the habit of getting up. The first thing you do, whether you leave the house, you go for a walk. I mean, this is the activity component to get you moving. However, it's really important to exercise and exercise with a level of intensity, a level that's going to challenge you to really work hard. And the reason being, and it's very simple, when it comes to routine and exercise and results, it's important to understand that there's some scientific principles. The body treats exercise as a stressor, right? So when we exercise and when we really get our heart rate up and when our muscles are under load, this is a stress on our body. And if I just draw a bit of an example or a bit of a diagram here, our body at rest is, when our body's in rest, it's called homeostasis. And homeostasis is our body in a recovered state. When we exercise, this is a stress on the body which fatigues us. Now, as a result of that fatigue and breakdown, we recover and we bounce back. We bounce back a little bit stronger, a little bit fitter, and with an improved capacity. So really, we want to get this stress right, and we want to get it regular. So over time, we can experience this improvement. Okay, now this here is an improved and increased capacity for you to move, whether it's strength-based training, whether it's fitness-based training, whatever it is you're training for, we're trying to develop, we're developing personally. So if we get this right, and this is all about routine, so this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever it is, this is a timeline. If we get it right, over time, we should get better. However, when we do generic exercise, the stress on the body, and I'll just do another diagram, but the stress on the body is next to nothing. There's really no fatigue. So we find that we actually don't get many changes, if any at all. The energy that you expend becomes less and less as you get more efficient at doing something. So it's really important that we have intensity in our program, which is going to give us that fitness benefit, give us that strength benefit that we're looking for, and increase our metabolism when we're at rest. Our lifestyles have changed quite significantly, or for most of us, it has anyway. And as a result of that, the tendency to move less and perhaps eat too much is definitely going to potentially put us back a step or two in terms of our health and our body composition. So exercise and generic stuff every day for mobility, for mental health, for getting fresh air, absolutely essential. But really, as far as your structure goes in the week and your routine goes, you really need to dedicate 3 to 4 days, and probably no more than 4, no less than 2. But you need to dedicate those 3 to 4 days of high intense exercise where you've actually got a structure to follow, where you're continually trying to improve on your former self. And it's quite easy to find lots of programs out there. Well, there are lots of programs out there to follow, but you do need a plan. You need a structure. You need progression. Because if we don't have progression, or if we just go through the motions, or if we're erratic with our training, or if we're not really trying to challenge ourselves to improve, you're going to get maybe a really good session to start with, get good benefit, and then let's say you don't train for a while. Over time, any benefit that we achieved from that session or from that routine starts to erode. This is the law of detraining. If we train too much, right, we can overtrain, right? So if this is training session 1, 2, 3, and we're training prematurely because we're training too much, we can actually go backwards and get injuries, fatigued, worn out, all of that kind of stuff. And we just
so Craig, I got a question here, and the first poll that we've just run has come through. Yeah. So if I'm, again, this is a new way of living. This is a new way of just coming to terms with the environment we're in. From your perspective, and the poll has just come through on, are people training at all right now? Are they training 1 or 2 times? Are they training what have you? And what I see here is, there's a fair mix between people training 1 to 2 times, 3 to 4, and I guess what's that number? 5 plus times a week. From your perspective, and let's come from a, I'm at home. I don't typically train at home. I'm not typically going out for a walk or a run. It's not what I do. I might go to the gym. I'm sort of been thinking of getting active before this started. Now this has started. I'm not sure what to do. And because I'm getting a question around what does when Craig talks about intensity, what does he mean about intensity? And for me, the way I would answer that, and I want you to answer it in a moment, intensity is not so much we're training to be the next Olympian. Where intensity is not about let's break a record every time we do it. Intensity, in my opinion, is if you're going to do it for 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes a day, make sure when you finish that workout or that activity, you feel good for being active versus it needs to be a record-breaking activity. What are your views on intensity as you just shared that? Because I just got a question then from one of the participant saying, what does intensity mean? I just want to be active. I don't want to be training for, to win an event.
Intensity in terms of the kind of the exercise connotation around intensity is simply expressed as a percentage of your maximum heart rate. So high intense exercise is anything that's around 85% or higher of your maximum heart rate. And this is how it's expressed in terms of like aerobic or anaerobic fitness, style of exercise. With exercise that's more resistance-based, weight training, it's more expressed in terms of the total load that you can lift. So intensity from an exercise perspective has a very different meaning. Perceived intensity, how hard you think you're applying yourself to a session, has a whole nother meaning. So really, I guess from a very basic takeaway point of view, intensity, as far as you're concerned, is about getting a sweat, working hard, working honestly to the best of your ability. You really don't need to, athletes obviously train at an intense level and they might achieve, records at that level of intensity. Your level of intensity is really, and the number or the score or the output or the number of reps you get or how far you travel, that there is going to be limited by your ability. But as long as you personally are training the best you can and really kind of rolling up your sleeves and getting your sweat on, then that there is what I'd say is a good kind of guide of intensity for the average everyday person. However, if you want to get more out of it, the best thing is to get a heart rate monitor and actually get some measurement, get some external feedback about how hard you're training. So you move from the perceived level of intensity to the, okay, now I'm actually training appropriately. And that's really all where all the results are. If you do have a perceived level of intensity, that's here. So let's say, make this look a bit nicer. Let's say your perceived level of intensity is here, and that's at 75% of your max heart rate. And you think that is, you've got no more to give. You're really under load and under pressure at that level of intensity. Wearing a heart rate monitor, you'll see, geez, you know what? I've actually got a little bit more to give. So really, the difference between there and the difference between 100%. A lot of people won't be able to get to 100%, nor is it recommended if you're not kind of quite used to training at that level. But the difference here, this is where all the results are. And really, we want to try and focus on, yes, we want to exercise, but we want to train. Exercise is just very generic, non-progressive, basic exercise or basic activity. And there is definitely a place for it, and it's great. And I saw from the poll that a lot of people are training. There's about 10% who aren't doing any sort of exercise at all. But exercise, I think, is almost another poll that would be good to see who just does general exercise versus who trains. Training is about having structure. Training is about having a plan to follow. Training is about having a score sheet where you've got some accountabilities, where you've got some measures, you've got standards in place, you've got some key objectives of your session. And this is what, for those that don't know what PHIIT stands for. PHIIT is a studio that we run, but really it's a method of exercise. It's called progressive high intense interval training. And what that is, it's basically, you've got a whole bunch of different exercises, but you've got a period of work and a period of rest, and that's all predetermined. And in that period of work, you've got to get the most reps out that you can, right? So if someone is quite fit, they might be able to get, who knows, just argument's sake, 100 repetitions. Let's say someone's not that fit, they might get out 20 repetitions in that work frame. The idea is that as the sessions go on and as you repeat that session, you're improving the number of reps you get in that same body of work with the same exercise, the same standards. Now, this is what training is, as opposed to going for a walk and not really having any meaning or any purpose to what you're doing. No meaning, no purpose means that you get complacent quite quickly. You think that you're doing your body a favor, and it's better than maybe sitting on the couch, but the benefits will be very short-lived if you don't actually engage in some sort of intense activity. So intensity is perceived. For those that don't have any tracking or heart rate monitors or anything like that, it's about having an honest workout. Geez, did I push hard enough? Was I under load? Was I sweating? Could I have done more? What am I going to do next time? Can I try and get more? It's about pushing to the best of your ability in a safe manner with good technique, always as a must.
And Craig, as it relates to And thank you for explaining that. As it relates to the number of times a week, you mentioned no less than 2, no more than 4, and you also shared that having a program that's structured and therefore it's giving you an opportunity to raise some sweat. You're able to monitor it and you're being accountable to a plan, which, you guys know, Craig, you would know our views on accountability as it relates to business activity, no different in the exercise activity or the activity around being active. How many minutes would you recommend is a suggested time frame needed for, if I was to get active at home and you're going to share some exercises that would certainly benefit activity at home as it relates to intense activity, how many minutes would it need per session from home that's going to equal that intensity explanation? How many minutes 4 times or 3 times a week would you recommend is needed to reach those levels of I had a good workout?
Look, I'd say anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes of actual work. So if we look at that, like in our Heavy Haulers program that we run, it's 12 2-minute rounds of work with 1 minute of rest. Right, so total session time's about 36 minutes, but there's actually 24 minutes of actual work. All right, so the beauty of high intense interval training is because it's a much shorter effort, it means that you can push your body a little bit harder because you know that it's only for this long. You might not be able to maintain that intensity for this long, but we can maintain it for this long. In fact, the shorter the interval, really the harder you have to apply yourself to get the benefit. So this is an example. And I mean, even if you were doing your own program at home and let's say you only have, I don't know, let's say you only have 20 minutes. You can have a great session in 20 minutes, but it comes down to how you apply yourself. You might do 12 lots of 90 seconds on with 30 seconds off. And you might have 4 different exercises or 4 stations, right? There's lots of timing apps that you can download just to make sure that you've got 90 seconds and free timing apps that you've got 90 seconds of work and 30 seconds of rest. And you might just rotate through station 1, 2, 3, 4, jot down on a bit of paper the number of repetitions you get. And then the next time you do that, which will be the same time the following week, you're going to try and just improve those repetitions. So what we really want, we want structure, we want routine, we want purpose to your training. If there's no purpose to your training, you do get complacent and the benefits will erode quickly. And the purpose of just simply trying to beat your former self is probably the number one. I mean, everything we do in life with what you do and what all your clients here do, Stefan, it's all about personal development, about personal progression. And we seem to really put our numbers and the impacts of our actions under the microscope in business, but we don't necessarily do the same when we look after our own health. And it's very important that you do so in order to progress and develop. Otherwise, you get very complacent, fall off the bandwagon, all of a sudden realize, geez, I'm not in that good, in good health like I thought I was. And, we want to exercise for so many reasons, but we want to be robust to be able to handle this period and far beyond and enjoy life, because life is a lot more enjoyable when you're fit and capable of using your body.
Yeah. So in recent times, as you're, I guess, no different to the rest of us, Craig, you've had to, I guess, pivot your business from a very cool, unique experience in your studio and the ways you were running your programs with the hundreds of clients you have, to now running it from virtually home, and you've maintained 95% of your clients remaining in program and being active. What I just heard there was, you don't need a lot of time for 3 to 4 times a week, and you definitely need some structure. And what I heard within that, which I think is and may be a bit of a stumbling block for some of us, you need some variety, as in, 4 stations is what you just said, or 3 stations, and that equals a bit of variety, but not every session, every second or third session, you're repeating the variety, and therefore it becomes structured, right? And you're chasing a score, which is your score, obviously 2 minutes on and 1 minute off, or 90 minutes on, 30 seconds off. I'm thinking what you're getting at there is you take your heart to a level which is higher or in more peak. And then you have that 30-second resting period. You recover, you go again, and that's where the magic is, isn't it? And hence
Absolutely.
why a 25 or 30-minute workout would be very beneficial to someone like me who's a layman around this. And I'm at home and I'm sort of thinking, okay, well, I've got a chair. Can I lift the chair? Is this good exercise? Maybe it is. Maybe I can do some push-ups. I don't know. Maybe I can do some tricep dips. I don't know. But I've just got this chair and it sort of works because I just did three different exercises, I'm thinking. And if I did that for 90 seconds each and I had half a minute in between, I did that 4 times in 20 minutes as a circuit, I reckon I'm going to be pretty sweaty.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Wherever, as long as you've got a structure and a plan and the simple objective is to try and beat your former self, then you're going to get some form of progression occurring. It's really whether or not the dosage of stress, if I go back to the board here, and if I go and have a look at, that dosage of stress, if let's say, it's quite an easy circuit and it doesn't really break you down, well, there's not going to be much benefit. But if you've got that intensity right and you are having an honest effort, there will be enough breakdown. You will get a recovery. You will get the benefit from it. So we really want to make sure that we get this right. But you know what? Even if you don't get it right to start with, it doesn't matter. Set a benchmark. If the benchmark is low, then that's okay. It means that we're going to have a big improvement next week. And it might take a week before you, or 2 weeks or 3 weeks until you arrive at this perfect kind of curve, right? In the meantime, you might be training a little bit too easy, or you might have gone out way too hard and you wake up the next day and you got to roll out of bed because you're so sore. And that there would be similar to a curve like that, right? If we do that, we're too sore, we can't really do anything. So it's better to start off easy and get into routine and build as you go, instead of going out too hard too soon, falling off the rails, potentially injuring yourself, and then getting very complacent or very jaded by the whole exercise thing. So yeah, having a plan is absolutely essential, having some structure. But like I said before, there is a difference between exercise and activity and training. And really what we're talking about here with the intense stuff, that is what training is. We're training for a purpose. There's a reason why we're doing it. Like when you go and do a course, you upskill, you're doing it to get better. Exercise, we're doing it for other reasons. People confuse the two, and as a result of confusing the two, they don't experience the benefits over time. It's very simple. As the body repeats doing the same type of activity, it gets more efficient, it gets more effective, it starts conserving energy. So let's say you do a 6K walk and you haven't walked before, and there is a lot of people who have picked up and started their exercise routines for the first time in this current environment of isolation. They've just started, they've just begun. Doing that 6K walk for the first time might take them an hour, and they might feel fantastic. They might start getting results. If they do it every day, guess what? In 3-4 weeks, that 6K walk, they can probably do it in 50 odd minutes. It's going to be burning half the calories than what it did in week 1. Their body's efficient. All of a sudden, the benefits, they don't keep coming thick and fast, get stale very quick, get bored very quick, and you just don't get the same benefits. And as a result, you can easily get complacent or fall off the wagon. So it's important to stay active, but recognize that going for a walk is not training. It's activity, and it's great. There's a place. And that's why I say, one of my tips, get up every day and move. Might be a half an hour walk. Nothing that's going to interfere with your recovery or with your training. Do something every day, 7 days a week. Even if you want to do it twice a day, it's very low intense. But do your 3 training sessions where you really push yourself, and you will notice progression, and you'll notice it very quickly. So yeah, and look, you really don't need, this is our little setup at home here. Obviously, as soon as the stage 2 restrictions came in, we were notified that we could no longer run our group exercise program, do any coaching. One-on-one isn't what we do. We kind of do group stuff and team stuff. So effectively, our business closed down, and we need to come up with a very quick solution. So I thought we need to set up at home. So if we do go into lockdown and I can't leave the home, that everything's set up here. We moved some of our equipment from our studio in the garage here, and now we run live sessions using Zoom, live group sessions in here. And, we've got a couple of little bits of equipment there. If you can see them, we've got dumbbells, we've got medicine balls, but we've created programs where you don't need anything. Like you said, Stefan, if you've got a chair, you've got a gym. If you've got a bottle of water with, 600 mils in it, we know that's about half a kilo, 600 grams. There's exercise you can do that will place you under load and under stress that will help you get that benefit. So yeah, you really just need some ideas, but the structure is really important. And
I've got a couple of questions here, Craig. Now I'm homeschooling and running a business. How do I encourage my children to take part in the training too and make it even more fun?
Oh, absolutely. I think the best way of training is with the family. Engage everyone. Now, whether or not you have your a little in-house kind of family competition, it might be most improved. So let's say you're all doing the same circuit, and it's all very body friendly, and you're doing all the right activities that are appropriate for everyone. Body weight stuff we know is always going to be appropriate from anywhere from 2 years old all the way up to 90 years old. So you're doing body weight exercises, you're capturing your scores. It doesn't matter. You're not competing against one another. I got more scores than you, but you might have a most improved. Who's the family member that's the most improved? You might have a few awards, something to encourage you all to actually push yourself a little bit harder. There'll be a bit of friendly banter. You'll have a bit of a laugh. It will engage you all. But I think, starting the day with the family as well, if you can do Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, might be 6:30, 7 a.m. I don't know how early everyone wakes up. For us, it's more like 5 a.m. or even earlier sometimes. You get up, you train, you start the day right. It sets the tone for the day. You've achieved and accomplished so much, when otherwise you could have been lying in bed. And, it's just a great way to start the day. But engaging the family, absolutely important. I think this is a good time to, now that we are at home, we might have a little bit of spare time on our hands. Instead of sitting in traffic, we might be at home and we might be able to start Googling, jump on YouTube. There's lots of kids programs available. There's lots of family programs. There's lots of free stuff out there. There's heaps. You might not get the same guidance. It might be a pre-recorded workout. It might not engage you as much. However, there's things out there that you can do. And there's never been a time where there's more options for you to do in that home setting and to include your family. So great question. And yes, I agree that you need to get involve the whole family if it's going to be sustainable.
So would an online program be okay? How will I make sure that I do not hurt myself if I haven't trained before? Because again, I'm just conscious, and I'm trying not to be judgmental of I guess our business owner community, including me, right? I guess, I do perform better when I have definitely guidance and definitely when accountability. If a score sheet turns up, I perform better. If I've got some structure that's provided to me, which then holds me to account, I'm definitely working better. So one of the questions here, would an online program be okay? Obviously that's the strongest option now, I feel, if you need some structure and accountability. How will I make sure that I don't hurt myself if I haven't trained before? The next question says, what online programs would Craig recommend? And what is PHIIT doing? What is your business doing with their own clients during this time? Obviously, you've set up the studio. I know intimately that you've moved towards an online offering, and you've got a 97% following from the offline to online with your clients right now. So what are you doing as it relates to your online version of your PHIIT program?
Yeah, well, look, online is definitely the only way to go in terms of following a program. And really, what's out there, what's available, and what's the best? There's pre-recorded workouts that you can do. Now, pre-recorded workouts for me suggest that the person who's following them really needs self-discipline and self-motivation to do it properly, because you know that there's no accountability. You don't have a trainer on the other side watching you, and you don't have a trainer on the other side giving you feedback. So, and you know, no one else is doing that session at that particular point in time. So you do need self-discipline and self-motivation to follow a pre-recorded workout. And there's literally millions of them out there that you could follow that have all the safety guidelines, that scale the exercises for, you know, how to do it harder and how to do it easier. So beginners to the elite can follow them. But for me, the most important thing is routine. And what we have always offered as one of our key kind of features of our business is that we offer a program which is routine. So in our typical model, it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5:30 a.m. If you want to enroll into that time slot, that's your program, and that program lasts for 3 weeks before the exercises change. So in transitioning to an online platform, we felt, even though we were probably guided to, you know, and people saying, oh, would you do a pre-recorded workout for us? And we really had to think about it and say that that's actually not what we offer, and that's actually not what we want, and that's not what people need. What we need is we need to be accountable to a time. If you know that someone is waiting for you, someone is there, you've enrolled, you've paid for that time, and you are expected, and you have a clear objective, then chances of you turning up is going to be much higher. Now, in our previous model, which was, you know, the face-to-face model before we got shut down, our attendance was on average 95% over that 3-week period, which is unheard of in exercise terms in the fitness industry, 95%. And it's simply because you are expected at that time and you've committed to a time that fits your lifestyle. So it becomes routine, it becomes habit, and then it's just like getting up and making your coffee. It's just something that you just do. And then you don't need the self-discipline, the motivation, you just rock up. And that's what we want to offer. So that's what we have offered in creating this online program. Is we've got a whole bunch of different times that are scheduled every day for people to choose from. They simply choose the one that suits their lifestyle. A lot of people have wanted to maintain getting up early, even if they don't have to. And, you know, you even just talk to these people and they are obviously very grateful that they're able to maintain their routine, but they're clear-headed. They're actually coping quite well with the current situation where others are struggling, and they're coping with it because they've maintained their habits, they've maintained their routine, they've kept eating according to the plan, they haven't picked, they've kept the habits alive. So look, there's lots of different online options. We definitely provide an option which is a pay-as-you-go option. It's basically $11 a session. You enroll into your time, you get your Zoom link, and it's literally me or any one of our trainers that's delivering the session. We've set it up so we've got our big TV just behind here where we can see everyone and, you know, see the whole group. So if we can see that someone's not quite doing it right, we can give feedback. But we're actually exercising with the participants. We've got a timing system. Everyone gets sent their score sheet so they can print it out, and they're simply just filling in their score sheet. Like I showed you before, score sheet looks like this. You know, this is an example of one of the sessions. All of your little intervals there, and you're just filling in your own scores as each of the intervals go by. No one else can see anyone else, but everyone else knows that they're in that group, and that engages. It means that you know, people really want to attend. They want to get to their sessions, and one guaranteed way of not getting results is to miss your session. So I think now more than ever, it's important we have that routine so we don't get complacent and look at the couch or look at the TV, or, you know, just press stop on the alarm clock that, you know, 2 or 3 times more than what we should. We get up and we actually maintain that routine. So yeah, lots of things available, but that's what we offer.
And as you were just sharing there, Craig, what sort of equipment would I need at home, or do I need to get it from you, as it relates to that program you were just sharing, your PHIIT program, your online program? What sort of equipment would I need at home to participate, or do you deliver that, or how does that work?
Look, you really don't need anything. Like you showed before in your perfect demonstration of dips and push-ups on that chair there, all you really need is a chair. You need a chair, some water bottles. We've basically got 3 different programs that we've designed. One's called strength and conditioning, where you do need some dumbbells, you need a step, and that's, you know, a lot of people have it, some people don't. But if you don't, well, it doesn't mean that you can't train. It means that you might do body weight blaster, which doesn't require anything except a chair and some water bottles. Kick and box cardio is another program we've got. We've got 3 key programs, and you might need some focus pads and gloves stuff that's very inexpensive, but we've designed the programs to include all, and where people can, doesn't matter what age they are. My parents, they're both in their 70s. They do the sessions. We have kids that are, early teens that jump in, and there's kids. I mean, my son, he's only 4, but he always wants to jump in the class and do squats and running on the spot in the background. And he's really, he loves it. He watches everyone train on the TV, and he just wants to be a part of it because he feels great energy come from everyone else. So, bodyweight blaster, you don't need anything. And, it might be a chair, for example. I'll just get one. But it might be that we're doing a version of squats, and I'll be teaching it, and it might be a sumo squat where you simply got to do an exercise like so, 5 on each side. You've got 60 seconds to get as many reps as you can out. We've got about 200-300 exercises that we kind of rotate through, but all of them have an objective, have a purpose, and give you that balanced, intense workout that you need as part of your training plan. Exercise very different, as we know, but as part of your training plan. So, yeah, that's what we offer for those.
Thank you for sharing that. And again, it's as easy as just getting on your website at, do you want to just share your website details very quickly? And I've got a couple of more questions here, and they're more relating to nutrition. So I'll get to those questions in a moment. So your website is www.PHIIT So we'll make sure that gets out to our community. And again, it's as easy as getting onto your website and going and having some fun. Try a session. Hopefully this could be the start to something that becomes a bit more routine. I think one of the most important things, and hence why I love the fact that we're talking, or we've managed to secure you tonight and today, as it relates to 4 weeks into this, into this drama and saga and change and the adaptability that's needed. And David Butterfield, we were speaking with him last week, and he comes from a very different space, a very important space, no doubt. But I guess, I think the next 4 weeks, as it relates to, again, coming to terms at the next level, embracing of the new way. I think the next 4 weeks is going to be critical for all of us as it relates to our personal resilience and our personal ability to push through in this new way. I mean, the restrictions are not going to ease. The way our movement is controlled right now, to the degree it is not going to change. At least for the next 4 weeks, I feel that, as this thing continues, the elevation of our frustration because of something we can't control will be getting higher. So there is no two ways that activity, and I love the distinction, activity versus training. Activity, tick the box 7 days a week, just do it, man. But training, at least 3 times a week, is going to be to your advantage to have a better chance of managing self-managing through this next 4 weeks, and most likely the next 20 weeks after that. I feel the next 4 weeks, Craig, I'm not sure how, again, you come from a similar place, but from a different angle. I think the next 4 weeks, mate, is going to be very testing as it relates to our self-discipline and our reliance on getting through. I feel we're in for some shock and awe as it relates to how we're going to deal with this on a personal level.
Absolutely, I agree. And look, I think just being in the industry, I believe that it's going to be a much greater time before gyms reopen, before group exercise resumes, before people can interact en masse. And my advice would be settle in, because at the end of the day, if you're on the fence and thinking, I won't commit, I'll just have some time off, that's going to be extended. I guarantee it, especially with getting back to structured routine and exercise in an establishment. That's going to be much longer than that 4 weeks. Might even be the next 3-4 months, who knows, maybe longer. And people will definitely feel a little bit uncertain about going back into that environment and training. There'll be a lot of people who are really struggling with the whole germ aspect that goes with what we're dealing with here. So I think settle in, define a space at home that you want to temporarily convert into an exercise room, whether it's your gym, whether it's your garage, whether it's the outdoor patio, whether it's a spot in your lounge room. You only really need somewhere that's 2 meters. I mean, we've got a lot of space here. This is the whole garage, but really all you need is 2 meters by 1 meter. That's all you need. 2 meters long, 1 meter wide, and you've got your training down pat. And I would say identify that space, get a half decent setup, do it on an iPad so you can see the trainer. If you're doing online sessions, so you can see the trainer much bigger. Make it so it's a comfortable environment that you can get accustomed to very quick. But settle in, get your structure, get your routine, and start. Don't wait. I know that there has been, a few people in our community who have probably waited. Maybe they're not confident of how to set up the technology. They're not confident if they'll be able to do it. But all I'd say is that the longer you leave it, the worse off you'll be. Your own personal health and development will suffer, especially for people who have been training and they've been reliant on their group exercise program or their trainer or their gym being open, and now they don't have it. And they feel like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'll have a break. What happens is you go backwards. Any of the benefits that you've got, they will erode, and you start from scratch again. So chances of injury go up. You get stiff and tight. We need to settle in and buckle down for the long haul, so to speak, on this. That's my view.
Yeah.
And get comfortable.
Yeah, and again, just as a very close connection to this conversation is, again, nutrition. And one of the questions here is, before COVID-19, I ate well, but since I've started working from home, that's all gone out the window. What tips do you recommend to keep me eating well? Or, again, structure around my eating plans? And the side note to this, by the way, which has been an epidemic for the last 5 years, is, men and women in their 30s and 40s and heart attacks and aneurysms. And, that is totally reliant or related back to stress and lack of physical well-being. And nutrition is a big part of that, right? So what are your I know this is a place of expertise for you too. Your meal plans are phenomenal. Your awareness of, again, you don't need to starve yourself, but you need to be very conscious. So what are your thoughts as it relates to this new environment and the do's and don'ts in the next couple of minutes? Are you able to give us a few tips on that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the key word that you said there a few times was plan. You need a plan. You need to know what you're eating, when you're eating, and how much is on your plate. And, for those who, I guess, had a plan to follow before we were kind of, put into isolation, it will be quite easy for you to just continue that plan. And a plan is not just about planning what you're eating and when you're eating, but it's about preparing first thing in the morning or the night before, so you know that all of your food that you're going to eat for that next day is laid out in the fridge. You don't just have things where you'll go and pick, or what am I going to have for lunch now? And you go and potentially make the wrong choice, or you make the right choice. The quality of food is right, but you have too much or not enough. So having a plan about the quality of food that you're eating, obviously avoiding junk food, chocolate, all the sweet stuff, the snacks, the chips, any of that stuff, just don't buy it. Leave it out of your house. So the quality of food, having good quality cuts of protein, good quality cuts of carbohydrate, lots of vegetables, 1 or 2 pieces of fruit a day, no more than that. Having quality nutrients, the quantity, getting the quantity right, making sure that you don't have too much on your plate, or you don't get your timing wrong where you have your biggest meal at the end of the day just before you go to bed. Having some basic kind of, a bit of a plan around the quality, the quantity, and the timing of your food is absolutely essential, because there is the old saying, you can't out-train a poor diet. So, and especially when we are at home and we're a little bit more sedentary perhaps, because we're not getting up, getting in the car, going to work, walking to work, doing all that kind of stuff, we might be a bit more sedentary. And what we don't want is something like this to happen, where our daily expenditure is here, but our consumption is here. And this is all excess energy that we're storing and not utilizing. This is what we don't want. We want to burn a little bit more and perhaps consume a little bit less and actually get the balance right? So this here, this is energy that's coming from our fat stores, and that's what we want. We want to try and, eat a better amount of food throughout the course of the day, so we're not starting to store it on, because it is, it's a time where we do need more self-discipline than ever, around how much we eat. If you don't have a plan, if you don't have your food ready, chances of picking is going to be quite high. Now, you're picking, you're eating 1 or 2 nuts at a time, but if you do that 30 times a day and you look at the total food that you've had, you might be far exceeding, doubling your recommended daily intake for energy, and you're not expending it. And even if you are training, you think, geez, I'm exercising every single day, I'm training 3 times really hard, but yet your non-exercise physical activity, your actual metabolism could be dramatically affected because you are more sedentary. You're not moving really outside of the 4 walls for the majority of your day. Whereas maybe before you're walking to your office, or going up the stairs instead of the lift, there was more opportunity to move, for gross body movement. So I think having a plan of what to eat, when to eat it, and how much on your plate, quality, quantity, and timing, getting that right is absolutely essential. And I'm more than happy to, give you some stuff, Stefan, that you can flick out to everyone in the next couple of days. Just a really basic guide of
that would be great. That would be great, because again, if we think about the next 4 weeks, if we think about the next 8 weeks, the next 12 weeks, so whatever we have just experienced in the last 4 weeks, multiply that times 2, times 4, and possibly times 6. We're talking 26, 30 weeks, right? And again, I just think the sooner you get structures as it relates to your discipline around work, your discipline around, again, your mental health, your discipline around your physical health, the earlier you get into the structures, the routines, and I know it sounds very, there's a part of this conversation that might be sounding a little robotic or a little, oh, geez, that's not for me. I can't do that. I don't know if I can do that. But in fairness, you can, because what Craig has shared with us here tonight, and thank you, Craig, I really appreciate your time. What Craig is sharing with us here tonight is it doesn't need anything more than a chair, literally a chair. It doesn't need anything more than you being committed to having a routine, making sure you have a plan around your food and the quality, the quantity, and the timing. That was really, really easy to follow, man. Thank you for that. And yes, we will receive, if you're okay with sharing some of your further education on that or guidance. Really appreciate that. And again, now is the time to be really clear about the distinction of activity. Walking and or running, let's call it, is activity, which is needed because it gets you out and it gets you breathing the air that you need. But on the other side is training, and it's the training that's going to ensure when we come out of this, and you're eating well or eating better or maintaining an eating plan, and you're training better and maintaining that for as long as you can without it needing to be over the top. That's what Craig is sharing with us here today. You're going to be in a better place in week 5 and 6 and 15 of this period to be exceptional for your business. And where we come from, a business benchmark group, we want you to be the best leader that you can be. And we want you to be 100% focused for the things you can control in your business. And ultimately, the way you lead and the way you will be leading has got a big, big, big part to play in the way you're dealing with the out of the working space time, and training and eating and sleeping and drinking as in drinking water, is a big part of that. And what Craig is sharing with us here tonight is invaluable, even for some of you who are doubting your ability or capability or opportunity for you to get started tomorrow. And Craig, if you were to leave us on three final key points, if you were to create a 3-point summary for everything you've just shared, what would your top 3 points of reference be for our community? For which, again, we've got a significant number on right now, and by the time the weekend comes and goes, there'll be about 200, 300 views on this. And again, this is our community. What are your top 3 points of reference that everybody must? Again, I'm going to use heavy language here. Must and is non-negotiable to follow.
Exercise and move every day, 7 days a week. Train 3 times a week. Have a good plan. Stick to it. Have a plan around food. Invest the time to find out what you need to do. I'll definitely help by sending through a sample of what you should be doing food-wise, but there's really no excuses in this period of time. You know, we've never had access to information more so than what we do in this day and age. It is at our fingertips. Whereas when I was learning 23, 24 years ago, you had to read textbooks. It just wasn't accessible. But now you can find that information in 2 seconds, examples of things to do. There's no excuse. And I will say that some people listening to this talk might be not that interested. And some people think exercise and eating healthy, it's just a chore, it's a drag. You know, there's no enjoyment, it's not fun. But it doesn't have to be about fun initially. As you get better and as you start to really feel the benefits and as you start to be a better person, have more energy, become clearer in your thoughts, you will appreciate it. And whether you like it or not, like I love what I do. I don't always like training, but I like the benefit and I want the benefit, and you crave that feeling of having energy, being clear-headed. So even if you don't like it, start. Make it a self-discipline and start, and make it as easy for yourself to start as possible by simply implementing those 3 things. Exercise every day. Put it in your diary. Make it real. Don't give in to excuses. Put in your diary at a time where no one can disturb you. Make sure that that's your time. Training 3 times a week. Get it done. Make sure you get a plan to follow. And food, get rid of the junk from your house and start eating the right stuff at the right times and the right amount. And you will definitely be thankful for yourself for putting all those habits into practice.
Craig, thank you, man. And I really appreciate you making the time to be here. I mean, you know, for a very long time, and someone that's had over 25,000 hours plus in design and delivery of personal and group exercises, and 3,200 plus hours in course presenting. I'm intimately familiar with a whole list of clients you have and continue to work with who are very elite in the sporting field and who are very elite in the business field. And I just think you do an amazing job, man. And I really appreciate you sharing and taking the time out of your family time to be here tonight. Craig from PHIIT, PHIIT Studio.com.au. Reach out, try one of his sessions. Just, you know, the worst thing that happens is, you know, you're going to have to sacrifice one of your chairs to be your training partner. I mean, come on, you know, have a go, get started, get active, make it a training program, continue your activity program. And, you know, this is so important and a critical ingredient to the journey we're in as it relates to our business. This is a critical path journey as it relates to your quality of life in this very different and isolation motivated life that we're leading. And I think if you can get your families involved, I think that's just an added bonus. And make it fun. Make it fun. But I think the greatest thing Craig just shared there is the more energy you have, the clearer you are, and therefore the less dumb tax you will pay. And that's what I'm definitely very committed for every one of you to guide and keep you from and totally focused away from, is how you're making clearer decisions as to the business that you will be growing and getting better and doing better as we come out of this drama and saga called COVID-19. So thank you, Craig. I really appreciate you being here. And I look forward to seeing you very soon. And I look forward to joining you in one of your programs very soon. I'm going to have a crack, man. I'm going to go and pick the best chair and have a crack at this. This is going to be fun. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me, and all the best for all of you. And I'll definitely share some information in the next couple of days, but get on track. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, man. Be good. And to everyone else, enjoy your evening. Be safe. Thank you. Power.